Recording is in progress. Hi, David. Welcome. We're just getting started. We're going to start right here at 12 o'clock on the nose. Having quorum, we'll record and I will send the recording to Tammy so that she can compile the minutes for next time. Welcome everyone on this beautiful, frigid Iowa Saturday. This is the first quarter 2022 regular meeting of the Iowa Community Theater Association's Board of Directors. I'm so glad to see you all here. As we jump into the agenda, are there any additions or corrections to the agenda before we begin?
Yes. Daughter.
Okay, and seeing none, we'll just move right along. Thank you for accommodating me and my criminal tardiness on getting materials out for the meeting. We've been bouncing back and forth between strep with the kids, and now all of us have had COVID. So it's been a fun start to 2022. I am ready for this year to be over already. Moving on. Strategic plan review is on hold pending regathering. We will revisit that again in the future, but the time is not now. I will draw your attention to the minutes that were in the meeting packet, and I'll pull them up on my screen here, one moment. And we will entertain a motion to accept those once I have them up so you all can peruse them. There's page 1.
I'll make a motion to accept.
David moves. Is there a second?
I second.
Aaron seconds. Okay. Any additions or corrections to the minutes as they were provided to you? Seeing none, let's proceed to a vote. All those in favor of approving the minutes signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed by like sign. Abstentions. The motion carries. Thank you, folks. Moving right along, the treasurer's report. Gerard, the floor is yours, sir.
We have memberships rolling in, not as high paced as in pre-COVID days, but they are coming in. The financials are intact. I'm sorry, I didn't get them out. I will have those reports out later today. Give me a second. As of right now, we have $1,180.91. That is our net for the year, and that's positive. And our balance sheet, we currently have in the checking account, or in the Boughton savings account, $7,997. Grant account 700, checking account 3368, and we have 39,500 in long-term investments.
2 inches.
Thanks, Gerard. Are there any questions for Gerard?
What is the Donna Smithson grant? Could you remind me, please?
That was money that was donated when Donna passed away as part of a memorial to her. Basically, it wasn't designated for anything specific.
Okay.
We can do that, or we can just count it as part of the Boughton.
Thank you.
Good question. Thank you, David. Any other questions for Gerard? Seeing none, I'd entertain a motion to approve the treasurer's report as given orally.
I approve the treasurer's report.
I'll
Moved
second.
by Mel, seconded by Tracy. Any additions or corrections thereunto? Seeing none, we'll proceed to a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye or giving a wave.
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed by like sign. Abstentions.
Abstain.
Motion carries with 1 abstention. Thank you, Gerard, for your time. And moving right into the president's report, I only have one thing for you all, and that's to remind you of your obligation as a member of the board of directors of the Iowa Community Theater Association. You must be a member of the association. So it is that time to go to our website that I dropped into the chat for you and renew your membership for 2022. Are there any questions for me? Seeing none, we'll just keep moving right along into committee reports. Awards, David, the floor is yours, sir.
Yes, we set up a system to where you can submit your application for review and it goes to a marketing website, which is automatically forwarded to me. So we've got that process working, and I received notification of one request for Junie B. And we also set up a website, Google Docs, so you can sign up and everybody can see who signed up for that particular review. So I sent that notice out yesterday, and I haven't checked to see if anybody immediately responded and filled in the blanks, but we have one request for one review on March 12th, 13th, 14th, and the following weekend. So it's Junie B. Jones, the musical, in southwest, wherever it is, Shenandoah, Iowa. So the process is working. That's the point, but we just don't have any requests for reviews. So that is did you say marketing or awards?
Awards.
Oh,
We're on
good.
awards.
I'm on the right committee. Sorry. So that is the update on the awards right now that I have information that I have for 2022.
Newton will be sending in an award to be reviewed for March also.
Great. And just so you know, David, Tammy has been signed up for that now as the first reviewer. So the system is still working.
Okay, good. Good.
Great. Any questions for David on awards? Seeing none, we'll.
Sorry.
Oh, go right ahead, Jordan.
So my question is, we are going to proceed then with nominations and reviews?
That will come up during new business.
Okay.
We've received a question about, or I received a question about that regarding safety. It's listed under new business. We'll come to it then. Any other questions for David? Seeing none, we'll move right along to events. Cheryl, the floor is yours, ma'am.
The report from events is that as a committee, based on our survey results and the COVID numbers, we decided not to sponsor a convention this year. Looked as though we might have some of our board members present and not many other people. And after the last 2 years of canceling the events that we did schedule, we determined that we would just begin to put our efforts already into festival. So within the next month or so, we'll be starting to plan for Festival 23.
And the decisioning on that will come up during new business, but are there any
Yes.
other questions for events? Quiet group today. We must all have things to do after this. Moving along, institutional review, there was no report. I'm sure that will come up in the future as we look at bylaws and things again. Next, we will move on to marketing. David, the floor is yours again, sir.
I was admittedly passive about marketing committee. I was kind of waiting for these minutes to come out that indicated how we had decided what to do in November. And I saw that Tammy has got a recommendation for somebody to help us do a brand logo change, and that Gerard was going to say if we had any money. So that's what I was kind of waiting on, so that we can get some outside guidance on our logo development. You're on mute, Jason.
You know, you'd think 2 years into the pandemic, I'd have this down by now, but I obviously don't. Thanks, David. Are there any questions for David regarding marketing? Seeing none, we'll continue. Thank you, David. Next up is membership. Mel, any report on membership? You're muted, Mel.
Not anything as of right now.
Okay,
So
thank you. Any questions for Mel? I will once again pitch, don't forget to re-up your memberships as a board member. Yeah, David.
Mel, can you send out a notice to the board and I don't know if it gives away too much information, which board members haven't renewed. I think I had, but I wasn't sure, and I just wanted to make sure. Is there a way to send a quick notice or reminder who has?
Mel, you're muted again.
Ah, I will get that from Gerard if he can send it to me, and then I can get it sent out.
Would
And if
you
it-
also list what theaters are,
Yeah.
need to be addressed? Thanks.
Yes, I will do that also.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Mel? Seeing none, we're moving right along. Nominations. Gerard, I believe this is your bucket this year.
I prefer to just stay on mute. So all I have to do is figure out where the heck I put it. Jason, Tammy have accepted to renew. Molly, Sarah, and Pam have declined, so we have 3 openings.
Did you say Molly?
Correct. Molly Keechum, Sarah Keeley, and Pam Ratliff have declined to run. So we're going to need 3, at least 3 to re-up or to add to the slate.
Is Norman being replaced or is Norman staying on the board?
That is also, no, I believe he has declined and has not given us his new email address.
And he's done at the Waterloo Community Theater?
Correct. December 31st, 2021.
And his resignation from our board was effective same date. So we will have a 1-year term to fill there because his term expires in 2023. Any questions for Gerard?
I don't have a
Seeing
question. I don't have a question, but I do have related news. I was offered a job at a school in Minnesota yesterday, and so nothing is final yet, but it is possible that in the coming months, I may also tender a resignation, as I feel like it would be irresponsible for me to try to do the reviewing job from another state. So
How far north in Minnesota?
Twin Cities.
Oh, that's only a
Wow.
5-hour drive. Come on.
Again, I don't want to make anything official right now, but I do want to put that on your radar, Gerard, as we're thinking about nominations, because I have to figure out some details first to see if it's something that's going to work for me. And if I'm going to be in Iowa, I would very much prefer to finish out my term here at least, if not from others. So
And then would that be effective? Would you be moving like next fall or sooner?
sometime in the summer, probably July.
Okay.
So it's not like an urgent thing if we don't want to worry about it for the annual meeting, but there may be another vacancy that we have to worry about.
You just think MATC is better than ICTA. That's what's going on here, isn't it?
No, I'm just terrified of what's happening to schools in Iowa.
Yeah. Congratulations, Aaron, on the job offer.
Thank you.
Congratulations. Okay.
I'm
with
sorry. I
that
think
news-
Miriam was talking, but she's still on
Oh.
mute.
Where will you be in the Twin Cities?
The school is called the Performing Institute of Minnesota. It's an arts high school.
Oh,
in Eden
sure.
Prairie.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, nice. I familiar with it. Yeah, nice. Thank you.
Very cool.
What
Okay,
an
anything else?
opportunity.
Yeah, certainly.
Wow.
Anything else on nominations, folks? Okay, moving on, we'll move into organizational business. There was no old business retained from last meeting. So that will, is there any other new business or old business from the floor? Seeing none, we'll proceed into new business. The first item of new business we have is regarding Convention 2022. As Cheryl alluded to in her report from events, that committee is sending forth a motion to not hold Convention 22 due to the lackluster response on the survey that was held, as well as the current coronavirus situation. As this is a motion from committee, it requires no second, so I'll now open the floor for discussion on this item.
I think it would be prudent to move through this year, but plan for next year.
Thanks, Helen. That's good input. Any other commentary on not holding convention 22? Last call. Any comments, questions, bad jokes, dad jokes, or otherwise? Yes, Miriam.
The only thing that I'm just thinking right now is that if there was something that could be offered to different community theaters, whether it's a discussion or a panel that they could, click on to and listen to about moving through COVID or taking a particular topic of some plays or something that have people have found that have been successful for community theaters, or something that might be of interest to them, or have someone come in from the outside to do that has a good feel for that type of just some kind of project, or a makeup class or something. I'm always kind of taking a class that's online, just to keep me painting and things like that I'll do. So just a suggestion, just a thought, not trying to force it or anything, just an idea.
I like
And
that idea if we could do it on Zoom.
And I'm sure that we could incorporate something like that into the regional meetings that we've talked about going into 2022 for a membership. So I think that there are ways that we can continue to add value electronically in the interim while we're waiting to have our next group gathering. That's good. Thanks for that input, Miriam. Anything else on the motion at hand? Seeing none, we'll proceed to a vote. All those in favor of not holding convention 2022 signify by saying yes or raising your hand.
Yes.
Yes.
Opposed by like sign. Abstentions. The motion carries. That then begs the motion or begs the notion that we should have a motion setting the date of the annual meeting of the corporation. Since we have this duty to our members as a nonprofit corporation in the state of Iowa, I would entertain a motion to hold said meeting at some point in March.
This meeting would be Zoomed, is that correct?
Correct. Yep.
And do you want the motion to contain an actual date or just?
Ideally, yes.
Okay, hold on.
I'm also pulling up my personal calendar to see what's floating around. Because Easter is in April this year, right? Yeah, late April.
This is Cheryl. I would make a motion that we hold the 2022 annual meeting via Zoom on Saturday, March 19th at 1 p.m.
Sure.
Or I'm flexible on the time if others have other ideas, obviously.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor to hold the annual meeting of the corporation Saturday, March 19th via Zoom at 1 p.m. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Tracy has the second. I'll now open it up to discussion.
I will not be able to attend. I'm
Okay.
out of town the 10th through the 20th.
Hopefully
But
it's somewhere fun.
Absolutely.
Any other discussion?
I'm flexible on changing the date except for the 26th. That won't be available.
Same with me.
We have successfully held this event previously via Zoom on an evening during the week. I believe our last one was on a Thursday or something. So if we want to reconsider the date, those weeknight evenings are also a consideration as well. Any other discussion?
What about Wednesday, the 23rd?
I don't see any major conflicts there in terms of scheduling. Does anybody have any other conflicts they might have?
I do, will be gone that whole week, but if that date works best, that's fine.
Looks like I've got a couple of other hands for the 23rd too that have conflicts. David and Helen, it looks like.
Yeah, I have a 4:30 to 5:30 Zoom meeting that day, but after 5:30 is fine.
David, you have a conflict, it looks like.
I do all day. So that's
Okay.
just anytime that day, I'm just not available. My apologies.
What about evening, David?
Yeah, even the evening is full. It's an all day event that I'm at. So I can't attend.
What about the 30th?
Yeah, that's okay. Can't hear you, Mel.
Oh, is that the 5th Wednesday of the month?
It is.
Okay, I have conflict with that. I serve meals at the church.
What about Wednesday, the 9th?
That would work for me.
Can we have our, this is the 11th of February, does that amount of time give our committees time to finish up nominations and the other reports and records that we'll need for the annual meeting?
I think the biggest impediment here is nominations. Gerard, where are we in terms of finding persons for 4 open seats?
We're going to need to do a mass email.
Aaron's given us one name. Is that person still a candidate, Aaron?
You're on mute.
Yeah, she is.
Okay. Great.
And we have at least one name. He participated in the marketing stuff, but has expressed interest from Atumwa community players, Jim Klingman. I think I shared that with you before, Gerard. Any objections to the 9th?
Does that give us the 30 days notice? Are we required to have 30 days notice?
I think we're required 2 weeks.
Okay. All right.
I
That
can
works for
double
me.
check that while
So-
folks are chatting about their schedules. One moment, please.
It works
Again,
for
really-
me.
Yeah.
So the only notice that we have to give is 10 days. So
Okay, great, good.
so I think we're okay there.
What time on the 9th? Are we thinking 6:37?
I would guess probably a 7 o'clock.
Is it proper to amend my motion, not my emotion?
You can amend your emotions all you'd like, Cheryl, but yes, it is appropriate to amend your motion.
Obviously do that.
So Cheryl has moved to amend her own motion to read March 9th at 7 p.m. Is there a second to the amendment?
I'll
I
second.
second.
We'll give that one to David. So we have a motion on the floor to amend, which would be taking the original motion and moving the date to March 9th at 7 PM. Is there any further discussion on the amended day and time? Seeing none, we'll proceed to a vote. All those in favor of amending the motion to state March 9th at 7 PM signify by saying aye or raising your hand.
I-
Opposed? Abstentions? That motion carries. Now we need to dispose the original main motion, which now reads to hold the annual meeting of the corporation via Zoom on March 9th at 7 PM. Is there any further discussion on this item? Seeing none, we'll proceed to a vote. All those in favor of holding the annual meeting of our corporation on Wednesday, March 9th at 7 PM, please signify by saying aye or raising your hand.
Aye.
Opposed by like sign. Abstentions. The motion carries. David, Gerard, Mel, I'll work with you on getting notice out to the members and former members of that meeting day and time so that we can make sure that we've got a presence present. Okay, moving along in new business, is there anything else to deal with either the annual meeting or convention 22 before we move on? Seeing nothing, we'll move on. The next, I had a question raised to me regarding the safety of our members, our board members traveling throughout the state and reviewing shows and either carrying COVID with them or bringing it home with them. So I wanted to bring this issue to the board and gather your input and your insight and determine whether or not we would be changing previous business with a vote today. As we all know, Omicron continues to be a hot commodity out there on the streets. I think several of us have had breakthrough infections ourselves or in our families. So we know it's serious business. I definitely cannot recommend catching it because it is no fun, even if you are vaccinated and boosted. So I will now open the floor and garner some input, and then we will go from there. We'll dispose it how the board sees fit. Any input? Yeah, Miriam.
You know, I've been to things and I am completely vaccinated and have been very careful on this because my husband has an immune concern, so I am aware of all of that. But I wonder if you could have some criteria for locations that if you are watching it while there is an audience, that audience members are masked and masked correctly, that the people who are a part of the production and all, if it's appropriate, that they could be, you could find out if they had been vaccinated and you know, were wearing masks and all. I know that sounds really kind of rigid, but I think those things are important at least to share with a group. And then probably you might not be having a long discussion with a group or anything, but make notes or do a video that you have a discussion that you could have with people or a Zoom afterwards. I'm just thinking in my head what some of the things that I would consider before I went.
I would inject a note here, though. We don't give any kind of review after.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay.
Yeah, so there wouldn't be a need to adjust that.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah.
Thanks, Miriam. Those are conscientious considerations to make. Any other comments?
Well, if it's going to be hard for a people on stage sometimes to wear masks. If they're singing, that's going to be all muted and you're not going to be able to hear them. So, I mean, and with most theaters, the stage is far enough away from the audience. So I don't know if, you know, masking the people on stage is a good idea.
I guess I wasn't really thinking about them, but I have seen some shows where they have a certain type of piece that they have over that's clear. And I don't know whether that's anything that people are doing or not. I've seen shows during COVID, and it's the audience that really has been the ones that are masked, and unfortunately have seen ones where there may be 3 to 8 performances that are not accomplished and a lot of understudies. So the COVID is there, and I'm sure you guys have seen that too. It's not.
In the plays that we have put on and the productions and things, we put it on there that masks are recommended, but we've had a lot of, we've had shows ever since COVID hit. We've had in a production of one that was cut short, but other than that, we've had our 4 shows every, you know, since then. So, and we've had, you know, fairly good audiences. Some are, you know, it just depends on the play, but we've had good audiences. So, but most of the audience members will wear masks. And we had masked some of the, at the beginning, we did have the performers' masks in the plastic ones. So.
Did you have a requirement that all of the actors have had their shots?
Yes. Yes,
And-
we have asked, you know, we have had that requirement, yes.
Was there
And-
any flack in the community? In any negative feedback for being so restrictive?
I had not heard any. I mean, we figured that if the audience wants to come to see it, we're going to give them a performance. And it's,
Okay.
you know, more.
So I'm going to interrupt. So you asked for all the members to be vaccinated, and then someone accumulated that information?
No, nobody communicated. We didn't, but we just asked if people had been vaccinated. It wasn't a requirement, but we asked if they were, you know, vaccinated. And
I'm,
pretty
I'm
much.
sorry, how do you ask without documenting that they were?
We just asked, you know, the director.
I would strongly advise against that, because now you're opening yourselves up to the American with Disabilities Act. So huge liabilities there. So anybody
Okay.
that wants to keep track of who's vaccinated and who's not and require that, please make sure you're very well aware of the ADD or ADA.
I did see a hand from David and from John. I want to make sure that we're getting broad representation. So David, go ahead, floor.
Not sure. Sorry. I think.
Okay, it's okay. John, you had something you wanted to add?
Yeah, my personal feeling is that we as a board cannot police the organizations that we're going to on whether the audience wears masks or what the cast is doing. I think we as a board just need to decide what are we comfortable doing this year for 2022. Whether a theater does a performance and we go to it as an audience member, that's a side point, but I don't think we can police what everybody else is choosing to do.
I second what John
yeah.
says.
I also did remember now, sorry, the train got derailed and it's back on tracks. Whatever we decide is going to be different in 6 months, if not in 90 days. And whatever we think audiences are going to tolerate today is not going to be what the audience is going to tolerate in 60 days. And I just think that any policy we make, other than we choose not to review this year, I think we're just going to be fraught with challenges, or we're going to be fraught with the idea of the 4 companies that were willing to follow our rules are the only ones we actually get reviewed. And since we only currently have 1 review right now, I don't even know how much competition or how viable our reviews are going to be. So anyhow.
Thank you, David. Cheryl, I see your hand, and then Miriam will pick you up after Cheryl.
Just kind of to tag along with John and David, and my thoughts run to it's already February, and like Dave or one of them said, what they tolerate now will be different in 6 months. And since we're reviewing and revising our award system, we've had the stopping point. And I think it might behoove our organization to take advantage of this and just stop doing what we used to do and then introduce a new something next year. Another point of view is who of us are willing to go out and do reviews? Because if it's not the majority of us, then that means any reviews we do get requested will fall heavily upon those who say they can do them. And I have I'm in an immunocompromised position. I cannot go places like that and do awards.
Go
ahead, Miriam.
Yeah, I was just going to say, Atumwa is not doing any shows and made decisions that way. So, there's a lot of places that have just simply stopped until things are better or easier or not so complicated. And maybe that day will come someday. That's all.
Thanks, Miriam. Thanks, Cheryl. Go ahead, Helen.
I think as long as we publicize that we're open to do reviews, and I agree with Cheryl, I think we should have a show of hands as to who's willing to do that. But if we open it up and there are a few theaters that are requesting reviews, I think we could do that in conjunction with the committee looking into revising the review form. But I think both could be done.
So I've seen or I've heard a couple of times now, the question about who would be willing. So let's do a quick straw poll. This holds no water other than just a feeling for the room. But if you're willing to go review shows in 2022, for whatever reason, you don't have to have, you don't have to publicize those reasons. But if you would be willing to review shows as of this moment in 2022, raise your hand. Okay, so we've got 6.5, 7 folks. I didn't raise my hand because I don't do reviews so that I can arbitrate complaints should they arise. That is...
Complaints arise? No way. Can't
Oh
believe
yeah,
it.
no, David, you've missed some of the fun stuff. We had the kinks worked out before you came on. There was the year that we were in Webster City, remember it snowed a lot. There was a line of people waiting to raise concerns after the awards. And yeah, so that was fun. Anyway, we've gotten those kinks worked out now, so there have been far fewer. That's about half the board. We're 14 now with Norman's resignation. So keep that in mind as we continue the discussion. Is there any other open discussion before we move into dispositioning this issue?
Well, and then I would also wonder, we know there are a few theaters producing. We've had one application and Newton says they're going to make another one, but what would we consider a viable number of reviews to even consider giving awards? Because I mean, if we do a half a dozen reviews this year, that doesn't even mean we'll have nominations in all of our categories. If we have 1 or 2 nominations that we've reviewed, I don't think the awards should be given, or they certainly don't mean very much.
Mel, I see your hand, and then Aaron, and then David.
Okay, well, one thing, excuse me, one thing we're going to have to decide right now if we're going to review or we're not going to review, because it's not fair, again, to the ones that do ask for reviews and then we can't get to them. So that's just my thought.
Thanks, Mel. Aaron?
all of the points that have been made so far against the idea of continuing reviews this year, I think are extremely valid. I see the points of all of them, and I agree with a lot of the reasoning behind them. My set of concerns about making that decision right now, and this isn't like made with strong conviction, just a concern I want to raise, is that we've already advertised that we're reviewing again. And what impact does it have if we go back on that publicity? And B, the awards and the reviewing is a major like selling point of membership, I think. And what will happen to our trends of membership if we say that we're reviewing and then we don't? It's a complication here. And I say that again, agreeing with a lot of the reasoning behind the points that have already been made.
Thank you,
Could
Aaron.
this year's competition be rolled into next year?
I don't know that we're at that point of determination yet. David?
I know Aaron has expressed that concern before, and I think it's a very valid concern. My only counterpoint to that is that unfortunately, if we all remember, there was a time when in 6 weeks we'd be back to normal, and that was 2 years ago. We just we're terrible at predicting the future, and I think people will tolerate us in some fashion. The one thing I would like to propose, and I don't know where this fits in the order of scheme of things, but what if just rather than an actual review, is if we had a situation to where we were invited and whatever board member, we had like one board go and offer just a little moment of feedback after the production of what we saw and what we experienced. I mean, to kind of give ICTA a little officiousness. You know, I went to Ames and saw their Murder on the Orient Express, and I would love to, as a board member of ICTA, talk to them about their production and congratulate them on their efforts and their work and the protection that they did for the audience and things like that. And I'm just wondering if there's an interim process we could go through that would buy us a little bit of time this year. But I do stand by, I don't think we're going to have enough people or enough opportunities to have an adequate competition for review purposes. So there we go.
Thank
Too
you.
many ideas.
Other thoughts? So as we stand now, the board decided in November that we would review shows in 2022. We have received one review with at least one additional one incoming, it sounds like, from Newton. And we are in the middle of February, so we're a month and a half in. Is there action that we need to take, or have we discussed it and we'll continue as we are decisioned already? Is there anybody that would like to make a motion of any kind? John?
I'll make a motion that we suspend 2022 due to the unforeseeable future of what's going to happen with COVID at this time.
Thank you, John. Is there a second? David seconds. We have a motion and a second. The motion on the floor is to suspend reviews for 2022. Is there any further discussion on this item as it's on the floor? Yes, Miriam.
If you did postpone or not have it for 2022, then could you offer to go though and give a discussion like you were talking about, and then maybe have something that is sort of an award for you know, the courage to continue, or something that, does it have to be a specific award, or could you just simply give them a participation kind of thing? That sounds kind of like grade school, but you know, I don't know. I was just thinking.
I think, I don't know, from my thoughts, I'm thinking, I don't know that the theaters who normally apply to review for awards would be interested in that. I think maybe from what Aaron has indicated, that some kind of competition is an incentive to belong, or I may be hearing you wrong, Aaron.
That's definitely part of it, yeah.
Okay. Any further discussion on the motion at hand, which is to suspend reviews for 2022?
I'd like to go back to Aaron said, he hated to see us go back on a decision we made in November, and perhaps this could be part of our publicity if we decide to suspend reviews. In that last November, we didn't know this Omicron was coming. We didn't know what the future looked like. So it's not that we're taking this possible decision lightly, but we are still concerned about people's safety.
It's a good point to raise. Thank you, Cheryl. Gerard?
So with states now dropping mask mandates on Monday, how does this all start playing into, because I'm assuming Iowa is going to be soon to follow.
Oh, Iowa, the governor has announced that the executive emergency order ends on February 15th. So Iowa will effectively have no coronavirus support, testing, reporting, anything left. It will be, it's done, it's over with, proceed as normal in the state of Iowa.
So then that just makes it more critical to us as citizens to monitor ourselves and our own actions.
Lest we get involved in a political debate. I think that's stating where we will be as of 2 days after tomorrow is adequate to say there won't be any sort of mandate from a governmental position in the state of Iowa. However, private entities are still able to require masks in their facilities.
Perhaps I didn't explain myself well enough. My thought was, could we carry on this year, but also use those nominations and critiques, evaluations, add those to next year's competition?
I would inject as co-chair of the awards revision committee that we may not end up with anything that is comparable or compatible with what we currently have. So I'm not sure that combining them will be a possibility. It's too early to know.
Yeah,
I just have a thing, we've announced this, that we were going to do this. And of course, we didn't realize what this new variant was going to do. What's going to say that in a month or two, it's gone or it's succeeded, and then it makes us look really not so much bad, but, kind of going back on our word. How is that going to affect the ICTA?
So
what kind of,
I'll illuminate that just a bit, Mel. First, our publicity has been remarkably limited because we don't currently have an editor of the center stage. We're undergoing a rebrand, and folks just don't read our emails. So what little publicity we've done has not been of great impact. So I don't know that it would be, well, they said in November, but now they're changing their minds. I don't think that would be as impactful perhaps as we perceive it to be.
okay, I just wanted to find that out.
And I think at this point, so regulations have changed so much over the last 2 years constantly. It won't be a surprise to anybody that does know. I mean, I'd love to continue reviewing, but and I feel bad that we would have to change, but I think at this point we are still, there's just too much risk out there, and anybody that's had it gets it.
Thanks, Tracy. Anything else before we proceed to a vote? Since this is probably going to be less than unanimous, I will ask that we show our votes by raise of hand so that I can count. So please raise your hand so that you can be seen, and I'll let you know when to lower them. We will now proceed to a vote on the motion on the floor, which is to suspend reviewing for awards in 2022. The motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor of suspending reviews in 2022, please signify by raising your hand. All right, hold them up so I can count. Okay, you can put them down. Opposed, signify by raising your hand. Abstentions. Seeing no abstentions, with 6 yeas and 3 nays, the motion carries. We will suspend. All right, folks, thank you for your careful consideration of that and all of the other business that we've undertaken today. Thus concludes the pre-agended new business. Is there any additional new business from the floor?
I do have a question for nominations.
Sure.
As we're seeking people, are we thinking in terms of the regions and our representatives to regions so that we're filling the vacancies, you know, to fit in the region, or we've never, I don't know that we've ever discussed how to proceed with this so that we still have representatives in regions.
I think one consideration that we've discussed is not having a second board member from a theater that's already represented on the board.
Yes, we voted on that as it's a bylaw change,
Mhm.
and that will be in effect.
It went into effect in 2019 with the new bylaws.
Mhm. But I'm wondering, I can't even recall off the top of my head who went off the board, but I know that Norman's off the board. So do we need to be recruiting someone from the region that Norman represented so that we still continue to have people in those regions? We haven't even, because of COVID, we haven't really had a chance for the regions to begin to function. But when we did our strategic plan, we had some, I thought, really thoughtful considerations for how to improve our association and relationships through the regions. But if we don't have board members in the regions to do that, then we kind of have to look at the strategic plan again and rethink that.
I think in addition, we have to look at where our membership is as well.
Which we've done in drawing the regions. There's about a comparable number of theaters in each region.
Uh-huh.
And then we've allocated board members by where they live to cover. So some of the regions have 4 board members and some have 3. At this point, we don't have any with 2, but.
So in case you didn't see this chat, Cheryl, departing board members not returning are Norman, who's in Waterloo, Pam, who's in Newton, Molly, who's in the Des Moines metro area, and then Sarah, who is in North Central Iowa, Forest City, I believe, or Emmitsburg. Somewhere up north, way up north.
So would it be a helpful thing to have the people in those who are in those regions, even the person who's leaving the board, discuss in the next week or so who they might be able to nominate from their region or get to run for the board from their region?
I think
Rather than a mass email.
Mhm. That's a good idea.
Like, I think David and I, and Jason, I think we're all in the same region. We could put our heads together and probably come up with a couple of names for people who would run from the central region.
But don't we have enough in the central region now?
So Molly. I'm sorry.
Molly's departing, correct, yep.
Yeah, and she's
that's-
Boone.
Right. Which would not be in the same region. Well, I don't know. I don't have the map in front of me. So
I just
whatever.
linked the map in the chat. So
Okay.
Boone is the Northwest region, region 1.
Do we have names for who's assigned to what region?
Yeah, I
Yes.
will also share that as well. One moment, please. It's a hand-drawn map. That's the best that we have right now.
Okay, with Pam and I both in the same region and she is leaving, then are we looking at finding another board member for that region? Or for,
Yes, but not from Newton, obviously.
right, okay.
Right.
I'm wondering how many board members there are in Aaron's Northeast region. Who else besides you, Aaron, is from that Northeast region?
It was also Norman,
Norman,
and
Should be a
then
third, a third.
And Gerard.
it's
Is it
Can
Tammy?
we get, like,
yeah,
something
Tammy.
Gerard.
I think
that shows
Tammy
who's in
also.
region?
No, okay. I'm going to run you through the regions, okay, folks, real quick, since some of you are not on. Northwest Iowa, Region 1 is Helen, Sarah, and Molly. Region 2, Northeast Iowa is Aaron, Gerard, and Norman. Region 3, Southeast Iowa is Pam, Mel, and Miriam. Region 4, Southwest Iowa is John, Tracy, and Tammy. And Region 5, Central Iowa is Cheryl, David, and myself. So with Norman's departure, we would ideally have an additional person in Region 2, Northeast. With Sarah and Molly's departure, we're looking at needing 2 folks in Northwest Iowa. And with Pam's departure, at least 1 person in Southeast Iowa. Does that help everyone see where we are in the state, understand where we may have thinness, et cetera, et cetera?
Yes, thank you, Jason.
Where's Pam from?
Newton.
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 Yeah, Gerard, go ahead.
So we're going to discourage people that might want to run from the board that are not in regions that are open.
No, I
Not
don't
at
think we
all,
do.
but I think we need to be specifically recruiting people in the regions.
So how are the people that are not in those regions going to know that we have board openings?
What is your committee doing to advertise those openings, Gerard?
Absolutely nothing right now.
What would you like to see done?
I would go back to a mass email. Again, communicating to all of our members that we have openings, not just going in pockets.
And I think that's always appropriate. However, I don't think we're any different than the work I do or any other organization I belong to. Mass emails usually don't net enough or all the people that you need. And so doing personal contacts with people in the regions will help us build the slate. And if we have additional people who want to run on the slate, fine, and we'll figure out how to work them in. But if we don't intentionally go out there looking for 2 people or at least 1 person from Northwest Iowa, then we're going to have 1 board member representing that whole quarter of the state.
You said Northwest or Northeast?
Northwest.
Northeast, I'm sorry. No,
You
it's
were right the
Northwest.
firest time. Yeah, it's
Yep, I was
Northwest. It
right
would
the
just
first
be
time.
Helen.
And I think this isn't any different than other organizations that have regions. I think our AACT organization has people who run for their board and they quote represent a certain region of the country. And that's just to give equal representation across the geography.
Well, in addition, it's easier to volunteer to review plays if we're not running across the state, going maybe 100 miles round trip rather than 300.
Right, and our goals in the strategic plan were to be able to have those board members within regions be actually assigned to a member theater, to be the liaison, to visit with their boards if they wanted to, to really have a network with the theaters that will help benefit us as a whole organization.
Yeah.
And to do possibly some training or socializing in the regions.
Be supportive.
And to add to the discussion, I think, while that was our strategic plan in 2019, well before the coronavirus pandemic happened, which seems like an eternity ago. I'm certain that we're going to have to revisit those items just to see if they are still strategic goals for the organization. And while they're lofty and important goals, I don't know that we will get to those at any point in the immediate future. And John also raises a good point in the chat that there's nothing saying the regions can't be fluid and change with the board each year. I think, John, that's a well-received point as well. So know that what we're doing right now is really in flux due to the world in which we live and the way in which theater is changing around us because of everything that's happening in the world. So all very good points that have been raised. And I think Helen's point is an especially important one, that it's a lot easier to volunteer when you only have to go 100 miles round trip than you have to go several hundred miles. Any other points on the recruitment of new board members? I will also call your attention to line 78 of our bylaws. This is Article 4, Section 4.01, that a board of directors consisting of up to 15 members shall be elected by the members of the association at the annual meeting. We put that in specifically that while our historic operation has been 15 board members, should we find ourselves short, we're not required to be exactly 15. So we can keep that in mind as we move into the future, should it be necessary. Though I think that we all know lots of really great board member candidates in our areas. So please start beating the bushes and see what you can't flush out.
Thanks, Jason. I just wanted an opportunity to talk through and see where we're at.
Yeah, thank you, Cheryl, for bringing up the topic. Is there any other new business from the floor today, folks? Seeing none, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
I make the motion to adjourn.
Saw John's hand first. Do I have a second? I got Mel as the second. All those in favor of adjourning signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Abstentions? Seeing none, the motion carries. We are adjourned at 1:02 p.m. and I will stop the recording.